Hello YouTube, this is Travis with Dad, Can You Fix It? This is my premiere episode on modifying 12 volt, well this one is a 6 volt, I'm going to be upgrading it to a 12 volt ride-on car. This one happens to be a Paragon Childs Products W460C020B. Now I can say that I have another one that is nearly identical that was made by Kids Motors, I believe. But anyhow, I purchased this one used off Swip Swap with the intentions of modifying it for my son's upcoming 5th birthday. Plans to modify are going to be add some LED lights in the taillights to have some functioning taillights. Not brake lights, just tail lights, because I don't believe I'm going to put a brake switch on this one yet. I don't think we're going to go that crazy. We are going to upgrade it to dual 12 volt motors, dual batteries. Actually probably going to go with 3 batteries because it's also going to have a onboard 12 volt stereo system with 4 3-inch waterproof marine speakers that I've yet to purchase on Amazon. Right now we're in the first stages, which is going to be go ahead and gather up the supplies, make the plan, and make the list. And that's where we're starting now. As far as the LEDs goes, I already have some that I've already purchased for other products. They have the resistors already soldered on to the end and a length of wire, which makes this job very easy. Of course, you're going to need some basic tools. You got a heat gun for doing heat shrink. We've got clippers, strippers, and of course crimpers. You got a soldering iron, flux paste, solder, drill. I also do car audio, stuff like that, so I have all kinds of other stuff if need be, and connectors over here in the big toolbox. Got tons of connectors, everything you need from A to Z. But I like to solder a lot of stuff. Some of this stuff here doesn't really matter. This one I'm going to try to make as weatherproof as possible because I'm giving it away and I don't know how well it's going to be stored. And of course, when you put money and time into a project like this, you want it to last. As you can see here, we've got some other ride-on motors and gearboxes and parts from previous projects. As you'll be seeing in this video, his silver police truck that he already has and the Camaro that's already been modified. Here is his police Camaro, upgraded to 12 volts, rubber tires in the front, the originals in the back. Obviously you have the limitation to the gearbox and stuff without extreme modification, but this thing would just slide when you try to turn. Even on 6 volts barely had enough grip. As you can see, it's scuffed up and whatnot. I'm gonna polish it up a little bit for him. Unfortunately, I have to store them in the shed and they just get piled on top of each other when you factor in the lawnmowers and everything. Anyways, this one's been upgraded to 12 volts. And I've also installed a little rocker switch to turn on the headlights and the fully functional taillights. Again, there's no brake lights because there's no brake switch. I am thinking about making this one a little police drifter now though. 2 motors, maybe 18 volts, and looking at doing the drill trigger upgrade because it has a potentiometer built in, high amperage. Probably be the easiest thing to do for a gas pedal, short of buying a speed controller and spending a ton of money, which is not what we're here to do on this channel. We're going to do this stuff basic and affordable with tools that everybody can buy, stuff that everyone can do. All right, YouTube, continuing on with the police Camaro that's been upgraded from 6 volts to 12 volts. Yes, you're looking at two 12-volt batteries in there right now. They are not connected to each other in any way. The one that is actually connected right now is only for the LED lights that I added. As you can see here, we've got tail lights, not brake lights, because there is no brake light switch. And we have headlights. Looks really, really realistic at night. Super cool. Go ahead and turn the torch on here. Shut the light off so that you can actually see what I did in there. That actually looks like a real headlight. Hate to tell you, YouTube, I don't remember where I got those from. I was originally going to use them as tag lights on another project. Didn't work out. The tail lights are these LEDs that you see here. Really nice because they already have the little resistor soldered on and a length of wire. Black and red. LEDs only work one way. It's pretty straightforward. And it, reduces the voltage with the resistor down to whatever it wants, 3.5 volts or something like that. Anyhow, back to actually driving the car. Here's a good way to tell if you can upgrade your 6 volt right to 12 volt without doing anything. On this particular Camaro, this little light bar has a siren and lights. Runs off some AA batteries. So that's completely segregated from the rest of the system. These things as well, which is good. Because as you can see here, this says 9 amp hours, 32 volts DC. What do we have down here? 9 amp hour, 12 volt DC battery. So we are within specifications of this resettable fuse. This police Camaro has forward and reverse switch there. And I want to say it had a couple of relays underneath of it, if I remember correctly. It was a couple of years ago that I did this one. And as you can see here, it's still holding up very well. It's a single motor. I did make the mistake. Well, not really. My son stripped out the original gearbox and it still worked. It just made a lot of racket. I bought a 12 volt motor, but the RPMs were too high and it actually was kind of slower. So I ended up putting another 6 volt motor back to it. I don't recall the RPMs, but it's a 6 volt motor running at 12 volts with that factory resettable fuse that it came with. We've had no problems with it. Doesn't get, any hotter than anything else that he has. And it's still going strong. So I went ahead and wired the 2 batteries, disconnected the LED headlights, and wired the 2 batteries together in series, as you can see here, which is going to give 24 volts. Again, earlier we discussed that that's a 9 amp hour, 36 volt DC circuit breaker. So that's not going to hurt anything. And here we are at 24 volts. With a 6 volt motor.
Amazing!
I just want to take a minute and say thank you for viewing the videos and remind you to stay safe. Always use the correct gauge wiring for the amperage. Make sure you look into Ohm's laws, Watt's laws, and understand what you're doing. Also, make sure your child is always wearing a helmet. Very, very dangerous. I shouldn't have allowed him to test this at 24 volts. Like I said, I didn't think that it was actually gonna, figured it would just spin more than anything. And if you watch the following video, you can see him on his drift go-kart. He's been driving vehicles and go-karts and ride-on toys and everything since he was 1 year old. I'm a real motorhead and he just loves it. He's going to be a drifter or a race car driver or something, even though he says he wants to be a fireman when he grows up. He's just a natural driver. He can drive anything. Again, I just want to say thank you for taking your time and checking out my videos and being part of my life and seeing my little man in action. Pretty cool little dude. Like I said at the top of the video, we're going to make a list today and go ahead and gather all the supplies that we need. So the first project that we're going to be doing on our modify 6 volt to 12 volt, which that's actually already done. That's the easiest part. But when I put the tandem, meaning 2 motors in there, all that's going to get ripped out anyways. And I'm going to show you guys how to do it with 12 volt relays. We're going to upgrade the wiring. It's going to be more extensive. It's going to be a whole nother series of videos. Today's videos was more or less just an introduction and to show you guys how to get organized for this project. One thing I didn't mention, as you can see, I've just got a little piece of wood here and I've got the ride-on car propped up on one of my tool carts. As you dads know, the back doesn't like to bend over too much. So if you can get the ride-on to a more comfortable level like so, and then have a seat where you can actually work on it, you'll make your life a lot easier, excuse me. Anyhow, like I said at the top of the video, we're going to make a list of what we need. And that would be, obviously, we're going to install some LEDs. So we're going to need some LEDs. I got 4 red LEDs, 3 or 4 mil, whatever you can find. Just keep it small, obviously. And then, of course, you're going to want a matching drill bit size. So that way you can drill the hole through the plastic and insert the end of the LED. Then we're going to secure that. Depends on how you want to go. And this one I'm going to I'm going to use hot glue. Anyways, we got wiring connectors, heat shrink tubing, and of course you're going to need tools like we already discussed at the top of the video. A lot of these things, I realize I don't have any Gorilla Tape right now, and we're going to go actually take a look at the other truck that's identical to this that I've already done the taillights on, and it gets stored indoors, like I said, in a shed, so I don't have to really worry too much about rain. So I just use some simple crimp caps and some Gorilla Tape to make sure that the LEDs, it was such a tight fit with the LED bulbs in the holes. I really didn't have to worry about them coming out, but I did use the Gorilla Tape just as a security measure. And also what I liked about it was it really blacked out the light and sort of focused the light to the front, even though the LEDs don't bleed out light like an incandescent bulb would. Anyways, I'm babbling. This is real basic stuff here. You can see I just drilled a little hole through there. And the way that these trucks already have headlights from the factory, and